Tell me if you've been in this situation before. A new patch or a new expansion drops in your favorite MMO, and all your friends want to do is just hop right into the new content. But let's say you haven't played in a month or two, and the amount of catch up there is to do is quite frankly staggering. It's just too much. Maybe you just give up and you move on to something else. But what if I told you that there was a game where all your gear stays relevant? That you can hop into any expansion, past, present, or future, and play with your friends immediately? That you could be chasing experiences instead of doing chores. That game is Guild Wars 2. I know what you may be thinking. Guild Wars 2? Isn't that game like 10 years old? Yeah, because it's good. Consider how long the average MMO's life cycle is, and yet, here Guild Wars 2 remains, still getting content on a regular basis. Clearly, this means that they're keeping their fans happy somehow. So why is Guild Wars 2 the ultimate time respecter of the genre? Maybe you've heard these terms before, but the answer lies in the philosophy differences between vertical and horizontal progression. Vertical progression sees your character become more and more powerful over time. This is often expressed through things like bigger damage, more stats, or an increase in level. Horizontal progression is a bit more difficult to define because it changes between genres or even between games. The best way I can describe it is that your character isn't chasing more power, they're acquiring more options instead. In a first-person shooter, for example, you might unlock more guns, like let's say a shotgun instead of a sniper rifle. One's not necessarily better than the other, it's just more situational. Horizontal content is something that exists in most MMOs in one shape or another, but it rarely becomes the focus of the endgame. In Guild Wars 2, however, they've made it their philosophy on how the game plays out and remains healthy. Heart of Thorns, the game's first expansion, will still have rewards that are equivalent to End of Dragons, the latest. When Secrets of the Obscura premieres in a couple of weeks, it'll also yield the same level rewards and have the same low barriers to entry. In many vertical progression games, the new content quickly invalidates the old, leaving you with a sense of FOMO if you don't get to experience it when it comes out. This philosophy also makes it so there are plenty of reasons for players to return to those zones, making the world still feel, largely populated and actually lived in. Even in the furthest corners where you would expect nobody to go, or even low-level zones, you'll still see players running around with a purpose. Here are a couple other ways that horizontal progression plays out in Guild Wars 2. Gear is more customizable. All endgame gear has the same amount of stats, but you choose how to allocate them based on a number of presets. Some people might pick more health, while others might go for more damage over time, or say debuff duration. Each piece can be changed to tailor to how you want to create your character. Guild Wars also has legendary equipment for those that are seeking that type of grind, but they don't actually make your character more powerful. Instead, what they allow for is more flexibility. They allow you to change your stat presets on the fly without having to craft different gear, and they're shared between all of your characters, so once that slot has a legendary unlocked, you're set for life. They also have some custom animations for each class's skills that are, pretty awesome. When I say endgame gear, I should note that there is still a vertical leveling process, but you'll only ever have to do it once. The level cap has been 80 since the beginning of the game, and it hasn't changed in 10 years. Think about how many different occasions you've leveled an alt for each expansion, or geared up just for the next raid tier, only for it to become invalidated in maybe a month or two. Guild Wars 2 has you max your character, craft the gear you like, and that's it. Leave the game, and in 6 months you'll still be able to do the latest content. Another example of horizontal progression is the mastery system. Instead of simply giving you more power, the game advances your character by allowing you to just do more in the world. With each expansion, new masteries are introduced, which allow you to unlock new ways to explore each map, like gliding, trampolines, or lava chutes in Heart of Thorns. With Path of Fire, the game's second expansion, they introduce mounts to the game, each with their own mastery path that advances the way they can travel through the terrain. While this might not sound like much at first, the amount of verticality or even distances the maps have in them make it so mount mastery is a worthwhile investment. Masteries are also account-wide, which makes it so your other characters can level up and explore faster if you want to change it up and try something new. I should also mention that they're not specific to their respective expansions, so you might find yourself using something you unlocked in Path of Fire to make something in End of Dragons or even the core game easier. The last thing I'll be highlighting for how the game uses horizontal progression is maybe the one you've been waiting for the most: combat. Using the shotgun versus sniper rifle example from before, each of the class's skills are tied to the weapons they use. You want to get up close and personal? Take a warhammer or try dual-wielding axes. You want to strike from afar? Maybe rifles, bows, or staves are more your speed. This also extends to what Guild Wars calls elite specializations, which open up even more ways to play the game. Suddenly, your turret-building engineer can transform into a sword-wielding hollowsmith. One specialization is not necessarily better than the others, but they approach the content differently. One quick note while we're talking about combat. For those that enjoy PvP, the barrier to entry is even lower. You just make your character, and even at level 1, you can hop right in. The gear is all equalized and provided for you, so you just pick a build and what stats you think are best for it. Whether it's being able to customize your gear, explore the vast world of Tyria with the mastery system, or change your weapon to suit your favorite elite specialization, Guild Wars 2 shows that horizontal progression and content can be done right. Leveling is a core function of most MMOs, and this game is no different, but what many developers seem to miss out on is that it doesn't need to be a fundamental for every character or expansion. It's most often fun the first time, but dry and lacking after that, and it only serves as a time sink that further divides players from having the experience that they actually want to have. Developers should be focused on providing a fun experience and adding more flexibility on how you play, rather than adding more complexity and barriers to entry. Guild Wars 2 is by no means a perfect game, and it certainly has its own flaws, but I've been having an absolute blast with it since I picked it up a couple months ago, and I think it's something that any MMO fan, or even newcomer to the genre, should try. The low barriers to entry also allow you to take a break from it and do something else. You can come back anytime and be ready to take on the next journey whenever you want. If you enjoyed this video, consider subbing to the channel, or check me out on Twitch, where the next games I'll be streaming are Baldur's Gate 3, Wayfinder, and the new expansion, Secrets of the Obscure.